Hi, I'm Bob Reece. I'm an Umpqua Signature Tire from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Man behind Thin Air Angler. If you've seen that on Instagram, I've also got my own guide operation up there in Wyoming as well. Blessed enough to be down here at Trouts Fly Fishing, tying up some of my fusions for you here today. Happy to be part of the fly tying world. Huge thanks to Shay Gunkel, my fly tying sensei and mentor. Looking forward to showing you guys one of my favorite bugs here that I've had a huge amount of success with. Alright, so I've got the hook beaded here. We're going to tie a fly with a single bead because flies with two beads create conflict sometimes. So I'm going to come in behind the bead, attach my thread, and for this pattern, this is my fusion. So the tail is 3 strands of Krystal Flash. For most of the color combinations that I do, I use root beer color combination on the Krystal Flash. I'm going to touch those just right up behind the bead, come in and catch them with the thread. And I want to wrap back to a point that's about level with the bottom of the tungsten bead. When I go to cut these tail fibers, I just want to approximate, and I want them about the same length as the hook shank. So once I have those snipped, I'm going to take a couple wide wraps right back up behind the bead. I'm going to bring in a piece of medium UTC wire. Now you see with the materials as we put this together, there's a lot of different color combinations. The combo we're going to be tying today is going to be tan Herl brown wire and some olive brown ice dub. And I like to kind of cheat. I like to take the end of that wire, stick it right up in the bead, and catch it with a couple wraps. Really important here as I take these wraps back, I want to make sure that that wire parallels the hook shank so that I get horizontal widening and not any vertical widening on the pattern. I'm going to take that back right to where I stopped on the tail fibers. And I'm going to bring in one strand of Ostrich Herl. I like to snip off the very end because it can be a little bit brittle. And I'm going to come in and right there, I'm just going to catch it by the tip with a couple wraps and then return my thread right up behind the bead. You kind of take this wire, if it's a little longer, bend it to keep it out of the way. If you have a rotary vise, this is perfect for this function. With some patterns, when we lay down Ostrich Herl, we'll take a wrap, brush it back, take a wrap and brush it back. We're not really worried about it with this. We're looking for a general buggy look, and about half of this is going to get caught underneath the wire anyways. So we'll take this, and all we're looking to do is lay down side-by-side wraps and cover about the back 2/3 of the hook shank. So once you get to that point, we'll catch it, take a wrap or two over the excess and snip that off. Now what really makes this pattern happen on the abdomen is when you bring this wire around, we're not looking to rib the pattern, we're looking to actually create a tightly segmented body. It's really important that you wiggle the wire side to side as you come around. It will trap some of the Ostrich Herl fibers, but as long as you've got a good wiggle in it, it's going to allow about 50% of those to come through the body. And that's really what makes this pattern tick. So a nice wiggle as we bring that around. You can see some of those are getting trapped and some of them are still sticking through. That's really what we're looking for. So all dried out, it kind of looks big and bushy, but you got to remember it's more important to think about how the fly looks moist. So if we moisten our fingertips down and kind of brush that back, that Herl lays back over the body. It gives it kind of a veiled look that you can still see the segmentation through. So we'll take this wire here, just take a couple helicopter turns of it, and it'll pop off for you. The thorax of the pattern is really straightforward and simple. It's a little bit of ice dub for whatever color combination you want. I like to use this loon swax to create this really sparse dubbing loop. The way that I do, I prefer the dubbing loop over the rope because with the dubbing loop you can get these fibers to extend back, kind of crawl and wiggle over the body. So it gives you the same sort of effect as a soft tackle would in the water. So I've got this little bit of tack on the thread. I'm going to pluck off just some very sparse fibers off the edge. And with that tack, I can just simply touch them to the thread and they're going to stay right there. So I take my thread now, I'm just going to close off that loop, take a wrap or two around the shank, and I like to just take my fingers and spin that together. Really helpful to have a pair of rotating hackle pliers that you can grab onto the bottom of this loop with. And then as I start to take wraps, the one thing I want to pay attention to is once I start to lay fibers over that hook shank, I'm going to take my finger and my thumb and I'm going to brush those fibers back so they don't compact and squish each other. I'm going to lay back toward the rib. Once I have that gap filled up behind the bead, very simply going to come over it, take a wrap or two over that dubbing, cut off the excess. Some of these fibers will stick back a little further. I like to just come in with my index finger and thumb and break them off at about the back of the abdomen. And then you can come in with a tool or with your hand and whip finish it. That's completed fusion. I've had great success with this pattern all throughout the Wyoming and Colorado waters that I fish. I fish it quite a bit in smaller size 18s, red for example, on the reef and the mile when I'm up there. Throughout the course of a day on a lot of the freestones that I fish. It's great on the bottom of a nymph rig. I'll fish it a couple feet below a terrestrial as a dropper, and especially during the summer when there's hatch activity going on with either mayflies or caddis. If you can match that general size and color combination, you can drop it 5 to 6 inches below the surface and fish take it really effectively as an emerger as well. Simple tie, definitely worth taking the time to spin up and add into your box this season to hopefully help you put some fish in your net.